Growing up, my mother was an alcoholic and a drug addict. My father, though he wouldn't admit it, was also an alcoholic. I think that typically when I say that, there is a idea or a connotation that we were from a low-income family, and it was quite the opposite. My mother was an RN. She worked for 26 years in the medical facilities. My father was a civil and structural engineer. But sin does not care what your income is or where you're from or what you look like. We are all fallen, and it affects us all the same way. I started drinking when I was 13. I started smoking weed when I was 13. I started having sex when I was 15. It wasn't very long before I started abusing Valium, Adderall, pain pills. After high school, I went to play lacrosse in Baltimore. At the time, it was the heroin capital of the country. It wasn't very long before I started messing around with heroin and snorting it. My mother passed away right before my 21st birthday, and after that, that's when I became a heroin IV user. I battled heroin for 5 years before finally getting off of it and getting clean. In all of my addiction, I constantly abused alcohol. So when heroin wasn't an option anymore, alcohol became that primary in my life. My career led me to Monroe, where I worked at a restaurant called Stone Table with a man named Matthew Scango. On my first day, I noticed that he had joy in his heart, that he had a wife that loved him and cared for him, that his children worked at the restaurant with him, and there was something about him, something almost tangible that I couldn't put my finger on. Why does he have this joy? Why does he have this happiness? What does he have that I don't have? And it intrigued me. And over the days and the hours of working together, I found out that he had a relationship with Jesus Christ. The gospel was never presented to me. I didn't really even know what the gospels were. I didn't know anything about the Bible. So Matthew, before I even came to Ground 40, started discipling me, started pouring into me, started explaining things to me and showing me, not just talking about it, but showing me what a godly life looks like and how to live it out. And so through that process, I became stronger in my faith, more knowledgeable in my faith, still battling the sin, still battling the addiction, but gaining a sense of identity in Christ. I was a chef. I worked in the restaurant industry for 15 years. My identity was in my job and my role. Most people didn't even know my name. They just called me chef. They just knew that that's who I was. And so when COVID hit and I lost that, I lost my identity. And the Lord will take things from you and He will take things out of your hand, but that's because He wants to put something better back in it. It was hard spending the first 3 months of my marriage as a full-blown blackout alcoholic, and then spending the next 6 months in a discipleship program. So the first 9 months of the first year of my marriage was spent in active addiction and then discipleship program. I missed Thanksgiving with her. I missed the first Thanksgiving with her. I missed the first Christmas with her. I missed the first New Year's with her. But sacrificing that time for the rest of our marriage is far more important than being there and living in active addiction and active sin. And now, a year later, we have a baby on the way. We're fixing to buy our first house together. Our marriage has never been stronger. And I could not have done that on my own volition, my own strength, my own ingenuity or intellect. All of that would not have fixed what only He can fix. For the young guys that are thinking or maybe hesitant about reaching out to someone to mentor them, it is absolutely paramount. Being able to have someone to go to advice for, and someone that is not going to condemn you or judge you, somebody that is invested in you and your future, someone that is going to guide you and lead you, is absolutely paramount and necessary. All I have is my testimony and my experience, and without the older guys, the Matthew Scangas, the Wesley Kazayas, the Cody Honeycutts, the guys that have poured into me and helped me, I wouldn't be here. All we have is our relationships. And without those relationships, it's hard to have community and to have strength because you feel isolated and you feel alone. And sometimes you don't necessarily always need the solution, but you just need somebody to go to and to be able to cast your burdens on and to be able to lay down those thoughts and those feelings and to understand that somebody that's older, that is 55 or 65, like, listen, bud, I've been there and I've been through what you've gone through and I've made it through that and you're gonna make it through it. I've been there, but this is what I did and this is what I didn't do and this is what I learned from that situation. And no matter good, bad, or indifferent, I'm still gonna be here regardless.